Welcome back to another episode of the Wet Work Podcast presented by Fish Like Hell. And today we're going to be doing a quick Q&A. Some folks sent questions in, and I'm going to answer those questions to the best of my ability. And they're going to be opinion-based, and if you don't like my opinion, oh well. But we're going to start off. I have the questions on my phone here. And the first question is, where are my favorite places to fish? So, like I've said on the podcast before, I was born and raised in Florida, kind of central Florida. I grew up fishing around Lake Okeechobee. I will not say that is my favorite place to fish by any means. I grew up going to Fort Pierce, Jensen Beach, Stewart, basically from the Indian River, St. Lucie County line, and Round Island, all the way to the Stewart Inlet. So we targeted primarily trout, redfish, and snook in that order. Bycatch, tarpon, jacks, all that good stuff. Snapper, you name it. So that's probably one of my favorite places in the world just because I fished it the most. I know it the best. I've gone to Mosquito Lagoon. I fished the lagoon up there. I fished just north of where, the main fishing spots in Mosquito Lagoon are, kind of closer to Oak Hill, New Smyrna Beach. I love it up there. I'm probably going to start doing some more fishing up there. I fished Sebastian once. It's a pretty good fishery. I don't know it that well, but if we're going to stick to favorite places, I love the West Coast. Crystal River is one of my favorite places in the world. And, redfish, trout, snook. There were days where we would go out and catch 20, 30 trout each out there. Not as big as Fort Pierce. Fort Pierce and the Treasure Coast is known for having really big trout. So you don't get the same size, but you get a lot more numbers. And the same can be said about, Pine Island, that area, Bokeelia, St. James City, fishing around Chino Island. For those of you that know that area, I haven't fished there in a couple years. Last time I went out, it wasn't as good. I fished, Estero Bay down that way. Recently, I've been doing a lot more freshwater fishing for peacock bass, freshwater snook, freshwater tarpon, things like that. And if I'm not fishing on a boat, I'll go to the spillways, basically from Fort Pierce all the way down to like Pompano Beach, maybe Fort Lauderdale. And I'll target, peacocks, clown knife fish, and like I said, freshwater snook, tarpon, things like that. Whole bunch of exotics down here as well. Some people like to go after the snakeheads and things like that, which we have. And as far as largemouth bass, I'm lucky I have a place I can launch my boat right down the road from where I live. If I'm not fishing there, I'll go to Headwaters up in Fellsmere area. That's a really good bass fishing area to target. And let's see, outside of Florida, I would say, South Carolina, Georgia, Brunswick, Charleston areas. I like that area. I haven't been to Louisiana or Texas. I want to do that soon. I want to go down to Mexico too, maybe. But we'll see how it goes. But out west, I like going to the Provo River area outside of Park City, Heber City. That's beautiful out there. I'm hoping to do some more fly fishing out that way. But, if I were to pick one place that's my favorite place to go to in Florida, and if you're wanting a good place to go on vacation, I would say Crystal River, Homosassa, just as far as friendly to families and things like that. You can go to the springs and go swimming, snorkeling, diving, fishing, decent restaurants in the area, really good fishing, crystal clear water for the most part. You go up in the springs, it's beautiful. Homosassa, The Chazawiska River's there. If you ever know where to look at the where the kind of hidden tourist areas are, you could find some really cool places to go swimming in that area. I would say as far as vacation, scalloping is pretty popular there in scallop season. I would say that's probably one of my favorite places to go to. There or the Keys, I guess. I'll go to the Keys pretty often. Island Marada, Marathon, things like that. I'm not really a big go to all the tourist heavy spots kind of person. So, I mean, if you want to go to the Keys, it's great. There's no beaches there if you've never been to the Keys. There's a couple places you can pull off and walk out on the sand and into the water, but as far as beaches are concerned, there's not a whole lot of beaches there. Very good fishing. Island Marada is the sport fish capital of the world. You can go target bonefish, tarpon, things like that. Space Coast is really good for big redfish. I love that area. But overall, I would probably say in Florida, Crystal River area is probably my favorite place to go. So, question number 2, what kind of gear, tackle, and knots do I use? So I like to keep it pretty simple. Majority of my rods are going to be 7 to 7.5 foot. And it really just depends on what I'm targeting. Majority of the time, I like a lighter action when possible. A 7-foot medium light rod with a 2,500 or 3,000 spinning reel with, I don't know, 12, 15-pound braid. I like throwing that. I always use a uni to uni knot, regardless of if I'm freshwater fishing for bass or if I'm fishing for redfish, saltwater, what have you. I'll always have at least 20-pound. Maybe if I'm, going after, if I'm in an environment where I want a lighter, approach, a lighter delivery to the fish, I might have a 15, 12-pound fluorocarbon leader. But I always use a uni to uni knot to tie the leader on. And I always have backing on my spinning reel. Like I said, 12, 15-pound test braid. I like Power Pro Slick. I know a lot of people like the Bash Power Pro. I've never had any issues with it. Some people say it breaks inconsistently. I've never seen that. I like the Power Pro Super Slick because it comes in a bright blue. I can see it and it looks cool and I like it. I don't care what you throw whatever you want. I will say there are some braids out there, like the cheaper budget friendly braids that I've experienced a lot of wind knots and things like that. So just find what works for you the best. But, as far as rod is concerned, I really won't ever go over a 4,000 reel for inshore fishing. Offshore fishing, 6,500, what have you, that's fine. But inshore, even for bass fishing, I use the same gear for bass that I do redfish and trout. So 7.5 foot rod. You can go shorter if you want to. I don't really see much need in going shorter than 6.5, but 6.5 to 7.5 foot rod. I like medium lights, depending on what I'm throwing, how I'm fishing. I'll throw on a medium heavy. I'll rig one of those up if I'm like pitching docks for snook or something like that. I'll step up to a medium heavy, but for the most part, medium light rod is what I use, and I try to keep the reel small. It just is what I like. It feels good in my hand. So that, and then as far as knots are concerned, if I'm using swim baits, if I'm using a shad tail jig, DOA shrimp, I like DOA. I like Bass Assassin or Saltwater Assassin, and then I like Hen lures as well. And if I'm fishing a bait, I'll tie a loop knot, or if I'm using a knocker rig, I'll tie a uni knot. And there's nothing crazy about my knots, so either a loop knot or a uni knot, you'll be fine. And as far as lures are concerned, I love DOA shrimp. I love pitching them under docks and skipping them under mangroves, things like that. But I don't get too crazy. I don't really feel there's a need to get too crazy. Now I will slather on some Procure. They have shrimp, menhaden, mullet, shad, whatever flavors they have. I will put that on the baits for the most part. And then as far as bass, Texas rig. I like either Bass Assassin worms or, June bug or red bug trick worms. That's I probably caught more fish on a red bug or June bug zoom trick worm than any other bait. And I'll throw topwater baits. I've been throwing a lot more topwater recently. I don't know why I ever got away from it, but as far as hard baits are concerned, I did use a lot of MirrOlure, but I'm kind of using more Yo-Zuri now. I'm not real picky on what brands I use, so try out whatever looks good to you. Most of the lures are just designed to catch the angler rather than have a major effect on the fish in their bite. But I would recommend using fluorocarbon leader. It's a little bit clearer, maybe a little bit more durable, things like that. But just find whatever works for you. So that's really all I have to say about that. And then last question I got here is, what is your EDC? So for those of you that don't know what an EDC is, a lot of the people online in the gun community and YouTubers, things like that, they always like to go through EDC. Oh, what's your EDC? This EDC, that. EDC just stands for everyday carry. And that's, what do you carry every day with you? And basically, when you walk out the door, what are you carrying on you? What do you use? How do you carry it? Things like that. So I have my EDC here. I guess we could start with cell phone. So cell phones, iPhone. I have one, well, two phones, but each has, different carrier. So usually if one doesn't have service, the other one will. That's just the way it kind of worked out, and that's what I go with. So, iPhones, they are what they are. As far as keys, I'm kind of a minimalist, so I don't like carrying a whole bunch of stuff I don't need. And oftentimes, even though I don't carry that much, I still feel it's too much. But keys, I just like having my key fob. I don't like any keys dangling on it, anything like that. I hate keys rattling around. So as far as the key is concerned, I just carry the car key and that's it. That goes in my pocket and that's all I use for that. Now for, house keys, trailer keys, things like that, I have this Key Smart thing here. So it's kind of like a pocket knife looking thing. It has a clip. You can put all your keys on here. I took some keys off. I haven't put it back together, but you can keep them nice and organized. They come out, they flip around, you unlock the door, all that good stuff. Just keeps it organized. And I mean, it's my everyday carry, but as soon as I get in my truck, I put it in the lockbox and I leave it there, and I don't carry the keys around with me. Hat, I always have a hat on usually. I like the Legacy Old Favorite truckers. And as far as clothing in Florida, I try to wear as light of a material as possible. So I have the Fish Like Hell Hawaiian shirt on and the tiger stripe today. And then I usually have kind of like, I don't know, polyester, neoprene, whatever these kind of golf shorts are. They dry quick when you get wet and a little bit cooler. I try not to wear cargo pants because they don't look cool. And we all know that looking cool is all that matters. But like these pants I have on now, they are quick dry material and they have one cargo pocket. So it's not as bad. I usually just put both my phones in that one cargo pocket and call it a day. So keys, phones, hats, clothing, sunglasses are important. I cannot leave home without sunglasses. So all my sunglasses have the cables on them, keep it around my neck. All the sunglasses that I don't happen to have these on, The lenses are all scratched up because they fall off my hat, they fall off my shirt, all that good stuff. So I always throw these on. And then these are the Gator. I can't remember what model these are. Anyway, these are Gator sunglasses. They're made in America and they're aluminum, so they're durable. I am pretty tough on stuff. So that is sunglasses. Knives, I usually have a knife on me, whether it's an actual knife for cutting or not. It just depends on how I'm feeling. If I'm carrying a knife, I don't use this knife to cut things with. This is a Microtech. So it is very sharp and very pointy, and I'm sure you know what you could do with this if need be. Hopefully not, because I hate knives. I don't think I've ever owned a knife that I didn't cut myself with. So I try not to use knives as much as possible. And then if I do need to cut something, I do have a separate knife. So this is a Kershaw. You know, you need to cut something, cut a box, cut some tape, cut a string. That's what I use this for. And if need be, it's very good to push someone away if you have to use it that way, or pull them in, or do whatever you need to do. Hopefully you don't have to do that, but it's there. Wallet. I just use the Ridge wallet because it's small and minimalist, and that's what I like. Wallet there. And then belt. Belt is very important. A belt is probably the most important thing in your EDC. So I use the Aries belt, the Aries gear. And what this one is, this is kind of like their Gen 2. So this is the belt buckle here. The first ones were kind of an aluminum. This is more of a composite. I don't know exactly what it is, but this belt is very stiff, very sturdy. You could pull a semi-truck with this thing. It won't bend no matter how hard you try to. It is very difficult to get it to kind of fold in half on top of itself. So regardless of what you're carrying or how you're carrying it, belt, and I guess your pants loops are important, but the belt really is the foundation of everything. So I do like these. I have a couple of these. I have one in 10, this black one, another one. And I just really like these belts. And not only is it a really sturdy foundation, it also has the kind of quick adjustable. So once you tighten it down and get it down, it won't move. But if you are eating dinner or want to readjust it, you can. Kind of weird. You tighten it to loosen it. And then I'm sure there's YouTube videos. It's very different and hard to get used to, but after a few minutes, you should be fine. So Aries belt, that's really the only belt I ever wear. If I can, I'm gonna wear that belt. The Groove Life belts are okay. I use the Aries more than anything, unless you're dressing up, and then it's not a dress belt by any means. So as far as the nitty gritty, we'll start with this. Hornady Critical Duty 135 plus P. That is the round I choose. Why? I just like to be different and difficult, so that's why I choose it. And carry item, I predominantly use a JM Custom Kydex appendix carry. I do appendix carry. Do I believe it is the best carry method? Probably not. Are there drawbacks to it? Absolutely. Can it be uncomfortable in a lot of situations? Yes. I do think there are other positions that are better, especially if you do get into a scuffle. I don't want to get into a scuffle with this on my appendix, but I do appendix carry. If I can find a reason or an excuse to carry outside the waistband, I will carry outside the waistband in a pancake style Kydex holster that, you know, tucks up close to your love handles. Obviously, that's what I'm going to choose, and that's what I would prefer. I've tried every which way but loose when it comes to carry positions, but this is a JM Custom Kydex. Believe it is called the Claw 2.0. And regardless of what anyone says, you can complain about this, you can complain about a flashlight, you can complain about optics or sights or anything. One thing I will not either argue or debate or try to reason with someone is the loops. I want 2 points of contact on my belt at all times, regardless of what's going on. One exception I'll get into later, but these are solid loops, 2 solid loops. I want 2 points of contact on the belt, because if there's just one, your holsters like this and that and this and that. I want 2 points of contact. That way, if one goes bad, I still have another one. Or just for comfort, or just for keeping it secure, I want 2 points of contact on my holster at all times. I've gone to great lengths of finding holsters with 2 points of contact, specifically loops, because you put this belt that I have here, the Aries belt, through these loops, it's not going anywhere. So I'll get off of my soapbox, but that is one place I will not concede in an argument, is 2 points of contact, at least a really good clip, if not the loops. So I do like the soft loops. That's why I like JM Custom Kydex holsters. And the wing here, that just goes against your waistband and just keeps it tucked up nice and neat. And since we're talking about belt loops, belts, the foundation of your EDC, another thing is go with a Kydex holster. Leather holsters are a thing of the past. Donate them to your local museum. They're not as sturdy, they're not as rigid, they're not as capable. Don't get me wrong, I love the look of a leather holster. I love a 1911 and a basket weave holster. Just go with a good Kydex holster. Add to that foundation. Now for piece. Glock 19 Gen 5. I guess kind of the 19 Gen 5.2, because it doesn't have the cutout, has the forward serrations. I didn't like the cutout on the 17. I knew I wouldn't like it on the 19. This one doesn't have that. Medium back strap. I do have a light on here, and a lot of people love to make fun of Olight, but you know what? I really don't care, because a majority of the time I don't really see a need for a weapons mounted light, and it's just a flashlight. I mean, they've been making flashlights for a very long time. I feel it's very hard to get a flashlight wrong. And worst comes to worst, I will just swap out my holster. I'll take the light off anyway, because yes, I get the whole, you have to see your target and know what, is going on. But my main thing is just don't be in an environment where you can't see your targets to begin with. I feel like it's pretty easy to avoid situations that you can find yourself in a bad spot. And regardless of what your EDC is, I think that's just the main thing, is situational awareness, knowing where you're at, where you're going to be, knowing what's going on around you, keeping an eye on the people around you, their body language. Are they wearing baggy clothes and something's sticking out of their hoodie? Are they in a verbal altercation with someone? What is the lighting in the area you're in? What are the reflective surfaces around you? Mirrors, windows, things like that. What are you looking at? And I've even noticed it a lot in the podcast, that, if I'm in front of someone, I'll always have my back to a wall and my eyes are always going left to right, left to right. I guess I just do it, subconsciously now. I'm always checking what's going around, what's going on around me. I'm looking in my rear view mirror and my passenger mirrors when I'm driving. Always keeping my head on a swivel to what's going on. So I feel, regardless of what your EDC is, know what's going on around you. What are the people doing around you? What do they look like? As far as, like I was saying, body language, what are they saying? I don't know, just look at people, what are they doing as far as their activities? Are they focused on their conversation, or are they just looking around everywhere? Just, I feel it's just basic common sense. If you're around people enough and you see what's going on, just keep your head on a swivel and you'll avoid 99% of altercations. I don't think it's very hard. And then, think about where your plans are. If you're going out at night, all right, you're going to the movie theater. Okay, well, it's going to be dark. I always sit in the very last row in the middle. That way I can see. Usually there's 2 entrances and 2 exits, one on each side. I see what's going on. There's not going to be any surprises, because as soon as I see a figure, I'm scanning it, looking at is it a 20-year-old female, or is it a middle-aged male? What do they look like? Do they have family members? All that good stuff. Just pay attention, and I think you can avoid most bad situations. And that's really all you're looking for, though. The whole time you go anywhere, you just want to avoid the bad stuff. I don't think it's that complicated. But tangent aside, flashlight, it's a flashlight. I didn't bring it, but if I'm going somewhere, sometimes I'll have a flashlight just in my pocket, or your cell phone has a flashlight. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But as far as the platform I use, like I said, Glock 19 Gen 5, 135 grain plus P 180 critical duty. And on here, I do have I want to say it's a C&H Precision. Maybe they call it a slug plug. I don't know, but it is an aluminum magwell insert. So just helps with reloads. I run these on all my Glocks now. Competition, carry, you name it. All my Glocks have this. It's a nice insert. Got a little Allen key in there, locks it in. And with the Gen 5s, I do have the performance trigger. I did trick this one out a little bit more, but not much, because it really is drop-in ready. I just like to take a jewelry cleaning cloth and wipe some stuff down, do a couple other things. Nothing major, but yes, this trigger is very good. And I'm either running Savigny Performance or Warren Tactical Sights. That's what I like to use the most. So that's all I got to say about that. If I'm feeling fat and lazy, I will break my one rule as far as holsters. I'll either keep the Glock 43 whenever I'm feeling lazy in a custom Kydex, JM custom Kydex holster, or I'll use this one here. And this is really just if I run in somewhere real quick. This is an advanced holster, mini concealment holster. So this is my holster I use whenever I'm feeling fat and lazy. And as you can see, there's no red dots on here. I do not believe in red dots one bit. I don't see what the fat is. We've talked about this before. I always maintain a target focused picture. So I'm focused on the target. I know when I grab my gun, how I grab my gun, when I present my gun. I'm picking up my front sight in my peripheral vision as I'm going out and pushing towards the target. I am focusing on the target. In a self-defense situation, statistically speaking, they are going to be within 7 yards. Now, the incident with the kid out west where he had to shoot about 40 yards. That's very rare. That's an active shooter situation, which major props to him. 90 plus percent of cops could never make that shot and land all those shots at that distance. So good on him for doing that. I don't believe in red dots. It's one more thing you have to think about. It's extra weight you have to carry. It's one thing if you're not training to clear your garment well enough, another thing that can snag on your cover garment. And if you have a target focus, I have no obstruction. I have no reason why I would even need a red dot. I'm going to drive out towards the target, focus on the target, and eliminate it as much as possible. Having a red dot on here, what I see a lot of people do, especially in competitions, you know, older people say, oh, well, I can't see my front sights anymore. Looking at your front sights is not like reading a legal contract. Yes, you have to see your sights, but you also should be trained well enough to know where your point of aim and your point of impact is on the platform you're running. I really don't see the obsession, because what I see most often is people are looking at that red dot and they're using it as a scope. Okay, they're using it as a scope. They're not acquiring the target, and boom, they're looking for that red dot. One shot, boom. Oh, lose focus. Another shot, line up the dot. Boom. No, it should be boom, 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 target. Boom, 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 target. Not. Now, I understand people can train and pick up that red dot just as easily. But going back to what I was saying earlier, you're not going to be taking 100-yard shots with your carry gun. If you are, more than likely, you're going to be going to prison. And obviously it can be done. You know, the Dickens kid did it and did it quite well. So I don't really see a need for a red dot. I can debate until my face is blue. I don't really see a need for a red dot on a pistol. I know it's the latest phase and fad and whatnot. I really see no point in it. And another thing is, instead of spending a few $100 on a red dot, take that money and go buy ammo and train. Practice your draw. Go to a range where you can actually draw from a holster. Work on groups. You know, it's important to be able to draw from your holster, pick up that front sight, present your weapon, control the trigger, pull through it smoothly. Don't focus on the reset. Forget about the reset. Completely get that out of your head. Just forget about it. Work on consistently and smoothly pulling through that trigger, break, taking it back out, smooth back, smooth. Don't get so focused on the reset. That's another thing people like to do as well. So instead of spending a few $100 on a red dot, go get ammo, go train, go practice, go do some drills, find a good set of whatever kind of sights you want. You know, they do make those big, huge, I can't even remember the name, but the big, huge yellow fiber optic. I'm okay with just a regular pair of night sights, tritium, pair of black sights, whatever floats your boat. But instead of spending all that money, go practice, because I know for a fact a majority of people that are going and buying all the latest and greatest in the gun industry aren't buying enough ammo and are not sending enough rounds downrange. So now that I'm off that tangent, last thing, got keys, stuff, tools. If I'm ever in a area or a situation where I am not carrying the other stuff, I'm carrying this bad boy right here. This is a black triangle. I'll let you look it up for yourself. They sell some cool stuff, but really cool. I put it on my belt and I go about my day with this on. So I'll let you look these up. Pretty cool. But other than that, I don't have too much. So until next time, I hope you have tight lines. And remember, fish like hell.